When people hear the word serious, most of them don't pay attention. They think it's just another warning, another prediction, another headline. But history has always shown us one thing: the greatest shocks come when people are the most comfortable. When they believe nothing can shake them, that's when the ground starts moving. People often believe that stability is permanent. They think that because they live in a powerful country, because the economy looks strong, because technology is advanced, nothing serious can touch them. That is the most dangerous illusion. Complacency is the silent disease that destroys great nations, great companies, and even great individuals. When you believe you are untouchable, you are already vulnerable. Look at history. Every empire that collapsed did not fall because the enemy was stronger. They fell because they became too comfortable. They thought their wealth would last forever, their systems would never break, and their people would always stay united. But the truth is, the world doesn't collapse from outside first. It collapses from within. And that collapse starts with one thing: the belief that it will never happen to us. America today faces this exact problem. People are confident that no matter what happens in the world, America will always bounce back. They think the dollar will always be strong, jobs will always come back, innovation will always lead, and power will never be challenged. But if you study the patterns, you realize that the biggest danger is not losing to an external competitor. The biggest danger is not preparing for the future because you assume the present is enough. That is complacency. Complacency is dangerous because it hides behind success. When things are going well, people stop questioning, they stop learning, they stop preparing. A business that earns billions begins to think those billions are guaranteed. With a secure job, starts to believe that job will always be safe. Country that dominates the global stage begins to think no one can replace them. But the truth is, nothing in this world is guaranteed. Success creates comfort, comfort creates laziness, and laziness creates decline. Imagine a boxer who trains hard to become the champion. For years, he wakes up at dawn, runs, practices, and fights with discipline. Then one day, he wins the title. The next morning, he sleeps a little longer. He eats more, trains less, and enjoys the victory. He says to himself, "I am the champion. Who can beat me?" At that very moment, another young fighter somewhere is waking up earlier, training harder, and preparing silently. When they meet in the ring, the complacent champion loses, not because he lacked talent, but because he lost hunger. America is like that champion. The question is, will it stay hungry or will it get too comfortable? The problem with complacency is that it doesn't show immediate results. You don't fail today because you were lazy yesterday. You fail years later when the small cracks have become too large to fix. It's like termites eating wood from the inside. You don't see the damage until one day the entire structure collapses. America cannot afford to ignore the termites, whether they are economic, social, or cultural. But the danger is people are too busy celebrating victories to notice the weaknesses. If you ask ordinary people today, most of them will tell you that life goes on, everything will be fine. That is the exact mindset that leads to disaster. People don't prepare for storms on sunny days. They prepare only when clouds appear. But by the time the storm is visible, it is often too late. The serious hit that is coming will not give time for last minute preparation. It will test whether America has been building strength during the calm or wasting time in comfort. So the real message is simple. Complacency is the enemy of survival. If you believe you are too big to fail, you have already started failing. If you believe the future will automatically be better because the past was good, you are in danger. Survival requires humility. It requires constant hunger to improve, constant awareness that the world changes every day, and constant preparation for the unknown. America must remember this success is not a guarantee, it is a responsibility. If you are successful today, it means you must work even harder tomorrow. If you are powerful today, it means you must be even more disciplined tomorrow. The moment you stop, the moment you relax, the moment you think we are safe, that is the moment you lose everything. Every crisis that has ever struck the world has carried one lesson. It doesn't destroy the strongest, it destroys the unprepared. The difference between survival and collapse is not luck, it is preparation. A storm doesn't choose its victims. The ones who suffer most are those who never thought it would come. And in America today, too many people live as if the future is guaranteed, as if there will always be enough resources, enough wealth, and enough time. That is an illusion, and illusions always break when reality arrives. Preparation is not something you do after a warning. Preparation is something you build into your life, into your systems, into your culture. When the crisis comes, it is already too late to prepare. You cannot build a roof when the rain is falling. You cannot dig a well when the fire is already burning. You cannot create unity when the chaos has already divided everyone. By then, all you can do is pay the price for ignoring the warning signs. If you look at the most successful companies, they survive decades of competition, and not because they are the richest, but because they prepared before the crisis arrived. They cut unnecessary costs. They trained their people. They invested in innovation. They kept reserves. When the storm came, others panicked, but they moved with calm. The same applies to nations. A nation that saves in good times survives in bad times. A nation that invests in education, health, and resilience during prosperity can carry its people through hardship. But a nation that spends recklessly in good times will collapse the moment a crisis arrives. America faces this challenge right now. The question is not whether a crisis will come, because history guarantees it will. The real question is, has America prepared? Think about the supply chains, the economy, the healthcare system, the energy grid, the social unity. Are these foundations strong enough to take a hit? Or are they built on sand, ready to crumble with the first shock? These are not political questions. They are survival questions. The truth is, every individual also faces the same test. When a personal crisis comes, losing a job, facing illness, encountering unexpected tragedy, the people who survive are those who prepared in advance. They learned new skills before they were forced to. They saved money before they lost income. They built networks of trust before they needed help. In contrast, those who lived without preparation find themselves helpless when the crisis hits. The same pattern is true for a nation. If the people and the leaders do not prepare in good times, then when the crisis hits, even the greatest wealth cannot buy safety. Preparation is not about predicting the exact crisis. Nobody can say what form the next shock will take. It could be economic, it could be technological, it could be social, or even something no one imagined. But the form doesn't matter. What matters is whether the systems are flexible, whether the people are resilient, whether the mindset is ready. When a tree has deep roots, it doesn't fear the wind no matter how strong it is. But when the roots are shallow, even a small breeze can bring it down. Too many people in America today live for the short term. They focus on comfort now, like spending everything, using everything, enjoying everything without thinking about tomorrow. But tomorrow always comes. When it comes with sunshine, no one complains. But when it comes with storms, suddenly everyone asks, why weren't we ready? That is the tragedy of human nature. We ignore the fire alarm until the flames are already at the door. The reality is this: a serious challenge is coming. It may come quietly, it may come suddenly, but it will come. The ones who will survive are not those who complain the loudest, but those who quietly prepared in advance. Preparation is not a luxury, it is survival. Every great civilization that lasted had one thing in common: they prepared before the crisis. Every great civilization that collapsed made the same mistake: they believed they could deal with it later. Later always arrives too late. So, if there is one message that must be remembered, it is this: every crisis is a test, and the results depend entirely on what you did before it arrived. America's strength tomorrow is being decided today in the choices people make, in the discipline they show, in the sacrifices they are willing to accept now for the sake of the future. When the serious hit comes, and the truth will be revealed who prepared and who only pretended. People often believe that wealth and technology are shields against every problem. They think if a country is rich enough, if it has advanced tools, powerful companies, and the newest innovations, no crisis can bring it down. That belief is comforting, but it is dangerous. Money and technology are powerful. They are not invincible. They cannot protect against every threat. In fact, they often create a false sense of security that makes people weaker, not stronger. Look at the past few decades. Technology has transformed the way people live, work, and connect. America has led the world in innovation, building the internet, smartphones, artificial intelligence, advanced medicine, and space exploration. Money has flowed into the system, creating comfort, abundance, and convenience. But here is the question: if technology and money were enough to protect everything, why do crises still shake the nation? Why do we still see financial crashes, social unrest, political division, even basic shortages during emergencies? The answer is simple: because technology and money are tools, not solutions. During a crisis, money can disappear overnight. We have seen markets rise for years and then collapse in weeks. Families who thought their savings were untouchable suddenly find them worthless. A company valued at billions can lose everything because of one disruption. Technology, too, is fragile. A system built to connect people can just as easily divide them. A machine built to protect can just as easily fail. And when that happens, what matters is not the size of your bank account or the sophistication of your machines. It is the strength of your mindset and the unity of your people. Consider what happens when disasters strike. A hurricane does not care how much money you have in your wallet. A cyber attack does not stop because you own the latest phone. A pandemic does not spare you because your country has the most advanced laboratories. Yes, money and technology help, but they are not enough on their own. In the end, the question becomes, Do people trust each other? Do they know how to adapt? Do they have the discipline to sacrifice comfort for survival? The danger for America is that too many people have begun to believe that money and machines can solve everything. If the economy slows, they print more money. If society breaks, they build more apps. If division grows, they assume the next tool will fix it. But these are bandages, not cures. Wealth cannot buy resilience, and machines cannot create character. Those must come from within. A strong nation is not measured only by its GDP or its stock market. A strong nation is measured by the spirit of its people. When times are easy, money and technology look like the answers. But when times are hard, those illusions fade. What remains is human strength, values, unity, courage, and the ability to endure. Without those, the richest country can still fall. With those, even a poor nation can rise again. There is another danger too. Technology and money, while powerful, often create dependence. People lose basic survival skills. They stop preparing. They stop thinking critically. They assume the system will always provide, that the supermarket will always have food, that the banks will always be open, that electricity will always flow. I failed, that the internet will always work. But what happens if those systems break even for a short time? Like panic spreads for 2 times, then the crisis itself. People don't know how to adapt because they have forgotten how to live without comfort. That is when the real damage begins. The warning is clear: money and technology are gifts, but they are not guarantees. They must be used wisely, not worshipped blindly. They can extend strength, but they cannot replace it. America must not fall into the trap of thinking that innovation alone will save it or that wealth alone will protect it. Those are tools without discipline, unity, and resilience. They are just fragile illusions. The serious hit that is coming will not ask how advanced the machines are or how big the bank accounts are. It will ask, are the people ready? Do they have the willpower to endure? Do they have the wisdom to adapt? Do they have the courage to sacrifice comfort for survival? If the answer is no, then money and technology will mean nothing. But if the answer is yes, then even the biggest storm cannot break them. So the real message is this: do not place your faith only in wealth and machines. Place your faith in the strength of people, in preparation, in resilience, in the mindset that refuses to collapse even when everything else does. That is the true protection. And without it, America will discover that no amount of money and no level of technology can prevent the serious hit that is already on its way. The greatest challenge today is not that the world is changing. It is that the world is changing faster than leaders, institutions, and governments can keep up. For decades, America has relied on its size, its systems, and its history of success to maintain stability. But the truth is, in this century, speed is more important than size. Flexibility is more important than tradition. The world does not wait for anyone. Technology, markets, and societies evolve at lightning speed, while governments often move at the pace of paperwork and debate. That gap between change and response is where the real danger lies. Think about how fast everything is shifting. In just a few years, we have seen entire industries rise and fall. Companies that once dominated the market are gone, replaced by start-ups that barely existed yesterday. Social movements spread across the globe within hours, not decades. Economic shocks ripple instantly from one continent to another. Technology that was science fiction just a few years ago is now in everyone's hands. But can governments adapt with that speed? Can policies, laws, and systems designed decades ago handle the world of today? Too often, the answer is no. When governments move slowly, the gap is filled by chaos. People don't wait for official solutions. They turn to alternatives, to untested systems, to new technologies that may solve problems, but also create new risks. The danger is not just that the government lags behind, that it loses trust. When citizens see that leaders cannot keep up, they stop believing in institutions. They stop following the rules. They start building their own systems. And when that happens, unity begins to break down. This is especially dangerous for America. The country's strength has always depended on leadership, on being ahead of the curve, on setting the standard for the rest of the world. But what happens if America's leaders are too slow to adapt, while other nations, companies, and individuals move faster? Power shifts. Influence shifts. The future belongs to those who act quickly, not to those who sit in meetings while the world is already changing outside the window. Consider technology again. Artificial intelligence, biotechnology, digital finance, and automation are not waiting for legislation. They are already reshaping economies, jobs, and societies. While governments argue about regulations, the systems are already in people's hands. This speed gap creates vulnerability. If laws, protections, and strategies are not in place before these changes spread, the damage cannot be undone later. You cannot pause the future until the paperwork is ready. The future moves forward whether you are ready or not. The same is true in global competition. Other countries are building infrastructure, developing industries, and forming partnerships with speed and determination. America, meanwhile, is slowed by division, by endless arguments, by leaders who are more focused on winning the next election than preparing for the next decade. That short-term thinking makes the gap even wider. While the world accelerates, America risks standing still. And in this century, standing still is the same as moving backward. People must understand this. The storm that is coming will not wait for America to be ready. Crises do not ask for permission to arrive. By the time leaders finish discussing, the wave will already be here. That is why preparation and adaptability matter more than ever. The nation that reacts fastest will not just survive, it will dominate the future. The nation that reacts slowest will suffer, no matter how powerful it was in the past. This is not only about governments. It is about individuals too. If you wait for the system to save you, you are already too late. You cannot depend on slow institutions to protect you in a fast-moving world. You must adapt personally, learn new skills, prepare for disruptions, build resilience in your own life. Those who adapt quickly will thrive, even in crisis. Those who wait will be left behind. So the warning is clear. The world is moving faster than governments, faster than institutions, faster than traditions. If America does not find a way to speed up, if it does not make decisions with urgency, if it does not adapt its systems with flexibility, then it will discover that power is no longer guaranteed. The serious hit that is approaching will not be kind to those who move slowly. It will only reward those who are ready to act before it is too late. The most dangerous threats are rarely the ones we see clearly. They are the ones we overlook, the ones we dismiss, the ones we believe are too small or too distant to matter. Human beings have always feared the obvious, the enemy at the gates, the storm on the horizon, the fire in the forest. But history shows that the real disasters come from what we did not see or from what we saw but ignored. The greatest danger is not always loud, sometimes it is silent, hidden, and invisible until it is too late. Think about how the last great crisis unfolded. They did not begin with an explosion, they began quietly. A few bad loans here, a small virus there, a minor protest somewhere far away. People noticed, but they said, "It's nothing serious. It will pass." But small cracks eventually become big collapses. A spark becomes a wildfire. A whisper becomes a scream. The world changes, not "I've failed" like when the threat is already massive, but when the small, hidden warning signs are ignored. The same truth applies to America today. People look for danger in the obvious places: military conflicts, market crashes, foreign rivals. The real threat may already be here, quietly spreading through society, the economy, and culture. It might not wear the face of a traditional enemy. It might not come with bombs or tanks. It could come as division among citizens, mistrust in institutions, addiction to comfort, or dependency on fragile systems. These are not dramatic headlines. They are slow poisons that weaken a nation from within. The problem is that people don't like to prepare for invisible dangers. They prepare for what they can see. If a hurricane is coming, they board the windows. If a war breaks out, they strengthen defenses. But when the danger is hidden, when it comes in the form of debt that keeps growing quietly, or a generation losing discipline, or a supply chain that looks strong until it suddenly breaks, people do nothing. They laugh at those who warn them. They say, "You're exaggerating, that will never happen here." And then, when it does happen, they are shocked, even though the signs were always there. This is why the next serious hit to America may not be the one people are expecting. It may not come from the battlefield or the stock market. It may come from the shadows, slowly, silently, and then all at once. That is how hidden threats work. They grow while no one is watching, and by the time they are visible, they are already unstoppable. It is the same in life. A person does not suddenly collapse from poor health in one day. It comes after years of ignoring warning signs, years of bad habits, years of refusing to change. When the collapse finally happens, people say, "It came suddenly." But it didn't. It was building quietly all along. Nations collapse the same way. The fall looks sudden, but the truth is it was hidden in plain sight for years. So the real challenge is learning to see what others ignore, to prepare for what is not yet obvious, to pay attention to the small signs before they grow into disasters. That requires humility and discipline. It requires leaders and citizens to admit that just because something is invisible, it does not mean it is harmless. A virus you cannot see can still shut down the world. A weakness you do not measure can still break the system. A division you choose to ignore can still destroy unity. America must learn this lesson quickly because the invisible threat is already moving. It may not look dangerous today. It may not even have a name yet. But it is there and it is growing. The question is whether people will wake up in time to prepare or whether they will keep living in denial until the moment it becomes impossible to ignore. The message is clear. The next threat will not announce itself loudly. It will creep in quietly. It will look harmless at first. It will disguise itself as something normal. and then one day it will strike with full force. The serious hit that is coming to America will not come from where people are looking. It will come from where people refuse to look. And that is what makes it so dangerous. When people think about threats to a nation, they usually look outward. They point to foreign powers, global competition, military rivals, or economic wars. But the truth is, history has always proven that the biggest enemy of a great nation is rarely outside. The biggest enemy is inside. No empire has ever been destroyed solely by foreign armies. They were destroyed because they were already broken from within, divided, arrogant, and blind to their own weaknesses. America today faces many challenges, but the most serious one is not across the ocean. It is in its own streets, its own communities, its own mindset. Division is spreading like a silent fire. People no longer trust each other, no longer trust their institutions, no longer believe in common values. Neighbors fight against neighbors. Citizens fight against leaders. Leaders fight against each other. While the world watches, the greatest danger grows not from missiles or markets, but from anger, mistrust, and disunity. The danger of internal weakness is that it invites external pressure. When a nation is united, no enemy dares to strike, no crisis can break it. But when a nation is divided, even a small challenge can cause collapse. Foreign rivals don't need to destroy such a nation. They only need to wait. The cracks inside will do the job for them. That is the real risk America faces today. It is not the power of competitors that is the problem. It is the weakness of its own foundation. Think about how strong a country becomes when its people stand together. In times of unity, even poverty cannot stop progress. Even lack of resources cannot block growth. But in times of division, even the richest nation cannot function. America has the money, the technology, the power, the influence. But if it loses unity, it loses everything. You cannot build the future when everyone is pulling in opposite directions. You cannot win tomorrow's battles when you are too busy fighting each other today. There is also arrogance, another silent danger. Success has made many people believe that America is untouchable, that no matter what happens, it will always rise again. But arrogance blinds people to reality. It makes them ignore warnings, dismiss critics, and underestimate threats. Arrogance says we are too powerful to fall. History answers, so was every great empire before you. Arrogance says we can handle it later. Reality answers, later is always too late. Short-term thinking is another enemy within. Leaders fight for elections, not for the next generation. Businesses fight for quarterly profits, not for long-term survival. Citizens fight for immediate comfort, not for future strength. A nation cannot survive when everyone is only thinking about today. The future punishes those who ignore it and rewards those who prepare for it. Right now, America is too focused on short-term wins and not focused enough on long-term survival. That imbalance will make the coming crisis even more painful. The hardest truth is that the serious hit America faces will not be from an external attack. It will be from internal weakness, from citizens losing faith in their country, from communities forgetting their shared identity, from people from choosing anger over understanding, division over unity, pride over humility. No foreign enemy can defeat a nation that is strong inside, but no foreign enemy needs to attack a nation that is already destroying itself from within. If America is to survive the storm that is coming, it must fix what is inside. It must rebuild trust, restore unity, strengthen values, and remember that success is not guaranteed. Power does not last if the foundation is weak. And right now, the cracks inside are more dangerous than anything outside. The message is clear. The most serious threat is not foreign competition, not economic shocks, not technological disruption. The most serious threat is a nation forgetting how to stand together, forgetting how to prepare, forgetting that unity is the greatest strength. America's future depends not on defeating enemies abroad, on conquering division at home. If that does not happen, then when the serious hit arrives, the collapse will not come from outside. It will come from inside, and it will be unstoppable